Okay, is there support to move this forward to the board meeting? Any concerns from anyone?
Not for me.
Okay, everybody else okay? All right, then we'll put that forward onto the board meeting.
I would like to know how often they need to be replaced, which is Dr. Yarnell's question.
Can we get that answer before the board meeting? Thanks.
And then I was looking, it seems that the geese lay eggs in April to May, so, what's the delivery time period and what's the administration's estimate of when they would be installed? Okay, so if we have answers to those, then I would be fine with it.
Okay. And the next thing on the list is the capital projects bid results. And I just wanted to share a little bit about the process. And everyone is required to come to the pre-bid meeting if they're going to bid, so that way the consistent message is getting to everyone there, everyone's welcome. And when there's specifications that are set, if there's other companies that want to use other outside products, as long as they can prove that those products meet the same standards, they were able to do that. And there was even one situation where an alternate was added to accommodate for that situation too, where they went out of their way to add an alternate so that they would be able to make that comparison later. So I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about how thorough that process was. And I also just wanted, if you guys could point out a little bit about when the specifications are listed, it's not about having one product over another, because they can use anything that's equivalent, but more just meeting a quality standard. And so if you want to highlight some of the quality standards and why those are important, and that's why, I just think it's helpful for the public to know that that's really the only thing that's limiting our bids is making sure that they meet a certain quality. So if you want to kind of touch on that a little bit too.
Yeah, thank you. I'll let Mike touch on a lot of those. I'll just go through it quick since we've been here for a while. That we did have the pre-bid meeting and we did have the bid opening. It was really successful. We had 13 bids for each roof project. We had 5 projects, 2 roofs, 2 pavings, and the turf. We had 7 bids on one of the paving, we had 8 bids on the other paving, 5 bids on the turf, which I would have been happy with 3 or 4, so I'm surprised that we had 5. All very competitive, received some very good numbers, so we're very happy with the bids that we received. And I'll let Mike maybe talk a little bit more about what Megan was asking.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all for spending your evening with me. So yeah, to piggyback on what Jeff said, we did get some really good numbers this year, and we did manage to include some additional scope to the work. We did include the Blooming Glen entrance of the high school, what we talked about. If we go with base bid only, we came in slightly under our budget. With the alternates that we're going to take to increase some of that scope, we're going to go slightly over. So by the time we get done with alternates and projects and whatever else, we should be at or under where we budgeted for in the first place. And it was favorable this year, which is good. I'll use the turf as an example for what you wanted to talk about. Every year, October-ish, we come in and we get our projects approved. The products that we put into the project come up a bunch of different ways. Normally, it's what do we currently have? Are we happy with it? Some of those, and I'll use the example for fire alarm system. Simplex Grinnell is in every building that we have. We do put in the specs that contractors are allowed to substitute for someone else as long as they meet or exceed the performance criteria that we have outlined in our spec. So we do not write proprietary. We can't do that with public bid. We give a list of other manufacturers, that we know of, that we've used and we've had success with. There will always be a time where somebody will come in with something completely different. And we will do a side-by-side comparison. Does it meet or exceed all the requirements that we have? We did that with the turf, which is why we added one more manufacturer onto the bid form during bidding. We were beyond the substitution process. We could have eliminated them, but they did meet the criteria. So why not add them to the list? Again, it promotes competition, brings our prices down. When we get into situations like that, which is why we have the substitution process in place, I've never used that particular manufacturer. I can't come in here and tell you guys, I recommend this product if I've never stepped foot on it. I don't have any reference material, those kind of things. We want to make, Rick Babiak is our sports field specialist in our office. He's an avid soccer player, he's a soccer coach. He's been on every soccer field on the Eastern Seaboard. He's never heard of two of the people that wanted to get on the list. One was a European company who had no installs for us to go visit. The other one had the blades of grass actually as one of the characteristics. It wasn't long enough, it didn't have the density. We did not let them into the process, but we still had 4 manufacturers. We added the 5th through the addenda. So there's a method to the madness. We want to get the best product we can get for the budget that we've established, and we need to make sure that they meet the criteria. If they don't meet the criteria, unless Jeff or a board member says, even though they did not meet it, we want them included, then we'll take the direction from you. But for most part, if they don't meet the minimum, it's not up to the quality of the project that we are hoping to do. So we did have that with the field this year. We got a good turnout. We actually favorably field turf, who we currently have and have had no issues with that field that I'm aware of, came in low, so we're basically getting the same field that we have, same warranties, the same. The only thing that we had in here was we did put in the alternate to upgrade to the coated crumb rubber versus the base bid recycled with sand mix. So that was the alternate that we had on, and we still came in slightly under our budget with the alternate for the coated rubber and the field turf. So we did well with that. So we added some paving through alternates instead of doing coatings on parking lot areas. So that was one of the other increase of scope. So we had a little bit of, we took advantage of the number. We got some really good numbers, so we took advantage of doing some of the additional areas. So that's what's reflected in the bottom. I think our original budget was 1.7 million, and adding the Blooming Glen and the parking lot areas, we got to 1.9. So we're still well within our, percent of that. So that's what we are asking the board for an approval for these 5 projects at the next board meeting. And if there are any questions in the meantime, I'm happy to answer them.
Also one more thing to add to, our roofing contractor, Procom, has done a lot of work for Pennridge, so we're very happy that he's low bid. And Mike has worked with both paving contractors that he speaks highly of too. So those 4 contractors, we're very happy to have on board, compared to contractors.
Reason why the Bedminster bid came in significantly over what you estimated. I mean, my speculation is that we've almost run the course on these good bids that came from a weak economy. I think now the economy's better, you're seeing a lot of bidders, and the numbers, though they came in within your estimates, are not like they were a few years back, when they were well under your estimates typically. But the Bedminster one kind of stood out because it's, $180,000 over, right, without any alternates added.
Other than we're starting to see that across the board. Everyone is busy, and everyone is busy early. And some of the guys who, they put their good number on Guth, which is a larger square footage project, And, okay, if I don't get the smaller one, no big deal, I'll try to make up a little extra, but overall, again, and I was concerned about, the other thing that I found out was, and I'm sure you're all aware if you went and got gas recently, petroleum's going back up again. So that was the one thing that worked against us. Overall, we came out well, but that one, for some reason, I think it was, we have the same exact bidders on both roof projects and both paving projects, which worked out well for pre-bid meetings, but some of those, you can see some of that in both. If I want the bigger one, but if I can't get the bigger one, then, so they kind of played that game, and no one got both contracts, so. But that's about as best of a summary we can come up with why we saw some changes in that cost.
I also think the turf bid is a very good bid. I mean, we were told, well, actually we paid, I believe, $800,000 in 2008 to install the turf in that field. So this is significantly less. We were told, I believe, if I recall correctly, that they would, 8 years would be the minimum that we would get out of that. 10 years was more what we could expect. 12 years was maybe the upside of it. And so this falls in that range.
Yeah, we're rating in 10 years, it'll be going year 11, I guess, once it's in. And the product does work very well.
Any other questions or comments? Is everyone comfortable moving all of these forward to the board meeting? Okay. The only thing I just want to add here too is Mike brought samples, so you can see what, if you wanted to feel or see some of the samples of what the infill is. This is the organic one. This is the regular one with the sand, the crumb rubber, and then this is the coated one, which is the one that's on here. And the advantage to it being coated is that it's not releasing that chemical that everybody's worried about in the air, so that we're not subjecting the kids to that. So that was a positive thing too. So if anyone wants to feel any of these or look at them on your way out, feel free to do that. A request to seek bids for Sellersville Elementary school floor tile abatement and replacement.
Last year in the, I guess it's called the lobby between the kindergarten and Sellersville Elementary, we had some water infiltration and asbestos tile popping. So it was kind of last minute, and there wasn't a whole lot of money, so we just did that part of it. The 2 kindergarten rooms are also part of that, adjacent to, and I have tile that's loose there. And there's another 3rd room that has loose tile. So I want to do an abatement this summer and then retile the floor. So we'll go out to bid for that.
Questions or comments? Is everyone comfortable doing that? Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Okay, public comment? No?
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have one question. The bid specs, where can I get them? For the roofing?
I would think you could file a right to know request to get that, or?
For what? I'm sorry.
Bid specs?
For the roofing projects and the paving projects?
It's up to.
Do you file them with any of the townships?
We don't have a contract for a board to go through the permit process.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
We don't have contractors approved to go into the permit process yet.
Okay, but when you do those bid specs go to the,
2 signed copies go to the town, the municipality, for the permit for each project.
and that would have the bid specs attached?
Correct. Drawings and specifications.
So they're here and they're at the township
Then they'll-
eventually?
Once they will go to the municipality as soon as the contractor is awarded.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the next Facilities Committee meeting is scheduled for March 14th, 2018, and we are adjourned.